folks, how we doing? All right, so welcome back, and in today's episode we'll be doing a complete and total engine coolant flush on both the car and the motorcycle. The service is long overdue, and I've already washed up the bike and the car yesterday. Just a pro tip: if you're about to do a strip washing, if you want to wash the engine, just make sure to disconnect the battery terminals before you're about to do anything. All right, so it applies to both the car and the bike. If you're about to wash the car engine, disconnect the battery terminals. Now the service of this bike and car is long overdue, and I decided to make a video regarding the engine coolant flush and the engine oil flush. I will do a complete and total different video along with this one for the engine oil flush. This is gonna be the engine coolant flush. Now I've got all the fluids and filters right over there. We'll be using Shell Helix Ultra 5W40 fully synthetic for the car, and we'll be using this 5W50, sorry, it's a 10W50 Castrol Power Ultimate I'll be using for the bike. Now previously I have been using module 10W50, but now I have decided to go for Castrol, so we'll see. I'll let you know how it performs. So rule number one of doing the engine coolant flush: you do it on a cold engine. Just don't burn yourself. And step number one, we're gonna drain the engine coolant first from both the bike and the car. I will show you. There's a drain plug right underneath, so we're gonna remove that. Make sure to collect properly the engine coolant, because there are these stray cats. They're kittens living inside my house. They got separated from their mother like a month ago, so they kind of sort of live here. So this coolant is kind of poisonous for these animals, so make sure to dispose them off nicely. So let's get started by draining the engine coolant first. There's a drain plug right over there, you can see. So we're gonna drain both the bike and the car at the same time. Okay, so step number one, there's the drain plug for the coolant in the bike. It's an 8mm, so put a ratchet, turn it counterclockwise. This I have this kitten standing by over here ready to drink it, but make sure not to let them get anywhere near this coolant, because it tastes sweet, and if animals drink it, it's simple and complete poison for them. Now you can see we have removed the drain plug, but the coolant isn't coming out. That's because it's the entire system is airtight. We're gonna have to remove this cap, so the air is gonna go inside, and just do it very gradually. You can see it's starting to come off. As of now, the coolant from the reservoir has started flowing because we have loosened up the cap. Just do it gradually, or it's gonna start, this coolant start gonna overflowing from this end. So let it drip down, and then we're gonna, when you see, after using this transparent pipe over here, so when you see this disappear completely, then we're gonna remove this cap completely. Make sure the spring isn't rusted or anything. If it's rusted or it's sticking, make sure to replace this cap, because when the pressure builds up, this spring moves forward and the coolant starts flowing to the reservoir. Alright, we're gonna wait a while, and meanwhile let it drain. We're gonna do the car. Now before you're about to do the car, just turn on the ignition and turn the heater all the way up to the highest temperature, so that will help flush out the heater core as well, any coolant that has been inside the heater core. So now that we have set it on high, the heating core vents have been opened up. Now we're gonna start draining the coolant from this car. Turn off the ignition. Alright, so for draining the coolant in the car, we might have to get underneath. And there's the radiator, that over there. So we're gonna remove this clamp hose, and it also have a drain plug on the other end. But we'll just remove this hose. It's gonna speed up the process. And there's the clamp, and I'm gonna remove it. And when we remove it, it's gonna flow down like crazy. So make sure to have a bucket ready to grab it. Okay, so the clamp is off, and we're gonna just pull this pipe, and it's gonna start flowing downwards crazily. So make sure to have a bucket ready. Let me just focus on it real quick. Make sure to have a container ready right underneath it. All right, here we go. Now let it drain out. Open up the reservoir cap to let the air in. You can see it has speeded up. So now that we have drained the coolant from both the car and the bike, we're not gonna put the drain bolt back on any hoses. We're gonna let it remain open for the coolant flush. So you can see we have also removed the drain plug from the bike. So we're gonna wait for the car to finish up. Okay, so meanwhile the car's engine coolant is getting drained out. We're gonna remove some clamps and hoses on the bike, starting with this one over here. All right. Just take it off. You might actually have to apply heat gun if it doesn't come off quickly, or just do it like this. Now that's easy. Right, now step number 2, we're gonna remove the clamp hose on the other side as well. We're gonna remove this as well. Almost hold up. Alright, now leave this open like this. Okay, so from the clamps from both sides are off. Now we're gonna remove this bolt, and we're gonna pull this pipe off. Alright, now both the bolts are out. You just give it a little bit of push and it's gonna come right off. Leave it out open over here. So now the step number 2, we're gonna put that drain bolt back on. And while we're at it, you don't need to tighten it enough. We're gonna just spray water inside. And while we're at it, let me give you a little direction. The direction of flow of coolant, it flows from bottom to top in the engine block, and from top to bottom in the radiator. So the coolant, it goes inside, it flows from bottom to top, and then it's gonna come out from this side. That's this pipe over here, and it's gonna flow to the thermostat. And thermostat is a device which controls the direction of motion of the coolant. So it's a device. Let me just get inside. Right over here, right inside, this is the device. This over here is the thermostat. So basically what it does is it controls the motion of the coolant. So after a certain temperature, it opens up, and the coolant starts flowing through the radiator. So while you are below 50 degrees, remains in closed position, and the coolant is flowing through the bottom pipe. It bypasses the radiator through this pipe, and it keeps going back into the engine block. So that's what a thermostat is. And inside the car, the thermostat is right beneath this cap. We're gonna remove these two bolts, and this pipe, it comes right out of the radiator, and the thermostat is a device situated beneath this cap. So we're gonna do our engine flush now on the bike first, then we're gonna do the car. So first of all, you're gonna grab a running water pipe, and we're gonna put it over here. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Running water, we're gonna put it inside the reservoir, but before you do that, make sure to disconnect this overflow pipe from the fuel tank. Right over there, we don't want any water getting inside the fuel tank, because this is an overflow pipe. It's gonna come out of this end as well. So now we're gonna put this pipe inside the reservoir. You see, and the water is flowing from both the ends, and it's coming out of the radiator on the other end as well. Oh my god, right over there. So now that keep this process up for 15 seconds only. Make sure to remove this fuel overflow pipe, or it's gonna go right into your gas tank. All right, so we're done. Now step number 2, put this, let it drain out completely, because as of now the reservoir is complete with water that we just sprayed in, and when it's done, we're gonna put that. All right, so it's done. Put your pipe inside, and you can see there's green colored water coming out. Keep this up for 15 seconds as well. Keep doing it until you see clean water coming out of this pipe over here. Alright, so now we're gonna put this cap back on. Tighten it up, and now we're gonna go to the other side. This clamp that we just removed, we're gonna put water inside this tube over here. And you will see the coolant come out of the other end. It's quite green. So this is just the radiator flush. We're gonna do the engine block flush as well. So keep this up until you see clean water come out of the other end. If you want, you can also do a reverse wash. Put the pipe inside this hose over here, and it's gonna come out of this end over here. You see, it's pretty straightforward, no rocket science. Do this once in 50,000 kilometers. And now step number 2, we're gonna insert our running water pipe inside this hole over here, and the water is gonna come out of this end, because the thermostat is in closed position right now. You will see. You can see the coolant has started to drain out. You can do top to bottom as well. You put it over there and it's gonna come out. So let me just get underneath it. You can see the coolant started to flow. It's flowing from bottom to top in the engine block. Keep this up for 15 seconds only. And we're done. Alright, so it's done. So this is how you do an engine coolant flush on the bike. So now it's completely done. Now if you like, you can blow some air inside the system to let old water drain out completely. Do the reservoir as well. Do these hoses. Don't forget to get inside the engine block. Oh, shit. You can put every hoses and every cap, every other clamp back on. Let me turn off the water. So now we're gonna do the car. Okay, so for the car it's a similar process. With the hose, the radiator hose opened up, and I have removed the thermostat, so the coolant will be flowing both from the radiator and from the engine block. I have put the pipe, a running water pipe, in the reservoir, and it's doing its job. Let the engine run for 2 minutes only. That's it. You know, you can see the clean water started to emerge from the radiator, and now we can turn off the car. So that's how you do a coolant flush on both the car and the bike. And after you're done, remember to put the hoses exactly the position like you found it. So just another tip, always use mixed distilled water along with the engine coolant. Do not use tap water, because in India we have a lot of salts and impurities. It's probably contaminated. So always use fresh drinking water for the radiator. We don't want any impurities messing around with our water pump pairings or seals or head gasket. Alright, so I've got these 2 coolant bottles. This makes up 2 liter. So rest of it I'm gonna put, this is a 5 liter, it only costs like 80 rupees. You can buy it from any battery shop. So this is just a tip. For the motorcycle you can use pre-mixed ready to use engine cool. I like to use this Bosch auto cool. It's probably good because overheating is not an issue for me, because I've been running this oil cooler. So I took it out because the winter has started, and this oil cooler is not letting my engine reach optimal running temperature. So this is probably good to go. Just remember that always use fresh clean drinking water for the radiator.